is Kees Boersma, and I'm a principal double bassist with the Sydney Symphony Orchestra. I'd like to spend a little time today discussing the preparation of the wonderful recitative played by the basses and cellos at the opening of the fourth movement of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. And I'm very glad to have with me to help me in this, having our 2014 double bass fellow, Aurora Henrich. Now, some of the technical and musical aspects that I'll hope to mention in this brief overview, I hope will help in your preparation of this excerpt for an audition, or even better, a performance of the whole work. Okay, Aurora, would you mind very much playing the first phrase of this recitative? Great, thank you. The opening, it's marked forte, and I thought doing a retake down by the start is a really terrific idea. And when you get to the third and fourth bar, it's really dynamic and you're making great sound. I just wonder at the opening if you could really start really strong as well. And that first long E natural, it's a real workout to try to keep sound going through to the end of the bow. So do you think you could make sure that when you start, the A and the E are both equally strong? And right until that point, it stays in that really strong, robust feel. Then we have a little bit of a problem later in the fourth bar, where you have the short marcato notes towards the top of the bow. So it's a bit of a challenge to come from here to make that same sort of a sound at the top of the bow, and then a nice legato, expressive accent on this B flat. So if you wouldn't mind just going once more from the three quavers and trying to get that same sort of a sound in the top half of the bow in the following bar. Yeah, great. That was really cool. Okay, let's try the next phrase. Great, thank you. So when we play this, anybody sitting on the audition panel will be thinking of the tempo, every single phrase. So that first entry, which is like an interruption to the 7 bars of noise of the orchestra in the meantime, it's got to be really rhythmic and really counting carefully to make sure that our next entry, which is a very lyrical entry, is in time and a very different feel, much more expressive use of the bow. I try to make sure in my head I'm counting all the time. 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2. If you wouldn't mind just playing it once more. Okay, let's move on to the third excerpt. Thank you. So this is the first time we have a fortissimo marking in the recitative, and really try to make the most of that, to try to increase our dynamic range. It's not really cheating, but if we play the first 2 notes, the F sharps, just a little bit less, and try to make more of the E flat, we can help things along. We're going to, the fortissimo, there's a forte marking at the F sharp, so we're going to play it strongly anyway. But if we play them slightly less and make the E flat even stronger, really make that jump out a bit. Yeah, because what normally happens in an audition situation particularly, we're a little bit nervous, we lose a certain percentage of our playing through being concerned about that sort of thing, about nerves and being uncomfortable. So we have to really think technically how we can maximize dynamic range. At the end of this phrase, we have the only real and significant ritardando and poco adagio in this excerpt. So that's something we can really maximize, really bring out as much music as possible. So the opening, not too loud, the first two notes, really strong E flat, and this is one of those places where you really have to be counting internally to make sure the tempo stays absolutely correct according to your first phrase. And I think the tempo, I think we're choosing here is around about crotchet equals 108 or 112. I think I would use a metronome at the start of each of these phrases, just to double check every time I start that I'm still aware of the tempo, so you don't get caught out, because the music changes quite a bit. Yeah. Don't get caught out by the tempo actually moving a bit. When you hit a long note, this is when your internal metronome's got to be really working. And at this point, the ritardando at the end of this bar comes in, so we really make something of that. Okay, let's go to the fourth phrase. Yeah, really good.
Oh, I have a question here.
Yes, sure.
I mean, a few of the recordings I've listened to, or most of them, the rubato varies, but often towards the end of phrases, there's a bit of a relaxing of the tempo. Would that be appropriate in an audition situation? How much would you?
I think it's great to let an audition panel know that you're aware that very often those little easing of the tempo at the end of a phrase is quite normal. It's interesting that in this recitative there's only one real ritardando marked. The rest are diminuendos, and there's nothing specifically in the score. But as a recitative is meant to be like a sung in the style of written speech, or spoken word. Sorry. So it's appropriate to have a natural slowing up a little at the end of a phrase, but I would just not overdo it. I think what you did then was there's a slight easing up, was really perfect. Great. Okay, so let's have a listen now to the fifth of the phrases. Yeah, terrific. So this is the first of the really quiet entries that we get to play. So it'd be great to make the most of that. And you could maybe just toy around with the idea of being a little bit inventive with the use of vibrato, perhaps, in the first 4 bars. What is really important in the 6th bar, that we really make sure our crescendo doesn't start till then. And then for the second time, we have a fortissimo towards the end. It'd be great if we can really make that difference. There's a 3-bar crescendo before we hit our F sharp fortissimo. So there's a huge amount of dynamic contrast here. But I would think at the start to really have a think about a slightly faster, tighter vibrato. It's like a suppressed energy coming through in the music. It's not super relaxed. There's drama here always. But I'm using very little bow, so constricting the amount of bow really, but being a little bit busy with the left hand. The following entry, which starts the same dynamic, I've really not tried to get it louder, but then the crescendo starts. This is the fortissimo here. Stay stays right to the end. Do you mind trying that once more? So think about that piano at the start. A little bit more use of vibrato perhaps, but tight vibrato, not, yeah.
You sort of use a bit of a détaché type of bowing on the quavers?
Yes. Well, détaché actually, they're kind of, again, a style of marcato style of playing. So they're quite forceful. So I think of them more as a marcato, very dramatic marcato, as we've had before.
Okay.
Okay, you want to try that once more?
Yeah, sure.
Great. And what about the last two notes? Double down bows, drama perhaps. That was great. Your dynamic contrast felt to me a lot greater like that. And it was really expressive, the first four bars as well, like that was terrific. Okay, let's have a look at the last phrase now. Yeah, great. This, in the vocal version, the baritone is singing about the joy of universal brotherhood here. So I just wonder whether there's a way we can have that reflected in our playing a bit. And perhaps, maybe more expanded use of the bow, so slightly longer notes perhaps, and maybe there's some other expressive ways we could do this. So for instance, at the opening, quite a lot of bow. And this next entry, so there's a few moments there where we can really, again, generous use of vibrato, lots of bow. Sort of speaks to it. It's kind of a majestic sound if we can possibly make that happen. Such a great D. And everything's going towards that G, which is held for a long time. Conductors tend to want to pull the last two bars back, so we're stuck on that G for quite a while. We need to use a slow bow at the start of the stroke and maintain that intensity. Would you mind trying it once more?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Fabulous. That was great. I really got that majestic side of your playing, which is really great to see in an audition. You're not just playing the notes, there's real expression. Terrific. Aurora, thank you for your great playing today and helping me in this little overview of this piece, and I wish you all the best in all of your audition experiences to come.
Thank you, Kees.